The Riders of Jurasia, The Conquest of Equestria, by Benjamin Michael Tanner. Prologue. It seemed like such a long time ago, but the fantastic events I'm about to share with you, dear reader, happened only just recently. I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was only 2 months after I finished 5 years in university and had just graduated in June. I'm not going to go into too much details about my personal life, as it is trivial to the topic of this writing. I woke up shaking, with a cold sweat running down my back and forehead. I couldn't remember it at first, but it slowly came back to me. It was a nightmare, though it was unlike any other I had before. It felt too real, like I was actually there. I was standing in the middle of a horrific scene. A kingdom was crumbling. Fire was set to every house. Small and defenseless ponies were being slaughtered and devoured by horrific monstrosities I cannot even begin to describe. So badly I tried to reach for a nearby sword, but I was frozen where I stood. I couldn't move. There was nothing I could do. I could only stand and watch helplessly as the carnage and cruelty unfolded around me. I witnessed a small unicorn laying at the feet of a black armored warrior with his hideous axe raised over the little pony's head. I fought with all my power to free myself from my paralysis. My muscles tense and tore as I reached for the sword. My vision went red as I glanced over at the demon about to smite off the little pony's head. Finally, I grasped the sword hilt and sprang forward like a roaring lion. My blade cut through the demon's armor as I cleaved him in two. I heaved and snorted through my nostrils with fury, and then I looked back down at the little pony still laying on the ground behind me. I took her in my arms and readied myself for another attacking rival. With my sword drawn, I met 3 more charging demon soldiers, cutting down each with the fury of a wild beast. A dozen more encircled me in a wall of shields with hideous spears pointing. I thrashed around, roaring madly, as the demons struck and jabbed me with their spearheads. But this only enraged me even more. With the little pony still cradled in my arms, I crashed through the barrier of shields and spears. I hacked and slashed with all my savage strength as more and more soldiers swarmed around me, nearly piling on top of me. Then I woke up, wide-eyed, shaking, and sweating. I spent the remaining dark hours of the morning pondering my dream as I sat in my living room sipping on my black coffee. The first thing I pondered were the ponies. I knew who they were, or most saw where they were from. It was the show My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Though I was familiar with the show and knew of its success and fan base, I had never considered watching it myself. So for a majority of the morning, I watched a few episodes of the first season on Netflix. I found the show to be very enjoyable, and the characters very lovable. Then another subject crossed my mind: the demon army. I recognized them anywhere. They were Daedra soldiers from the Elder Scrolls universe, one that I was very familiar with, as it was one of my all-time favorite fantasies while I was growing up. Then my heart sank as I remembered yet another image from my nightmare: the Daedric Prince of Domination, the Prince Molag Bal. As I have had adventures within the multiverse before, the realization washed over me that this was no mere nightmare, but a vision of things to come. The kingdom of Equestria was on the brink of calamity. After 6 years, duty was calling to me once again. It was time for a new adventure. Chapter 1. Concerning ponies. Well, it all started on a day pretty much like any other. The midday sun smiled warmly on Ponyville, and everything was all cookies and cream for the resident ponies. Rainbow Dash, the rambunctious little Pegasus, started the day pumped full of energy, and spent most of the afternoon racing laps, doing her usual business clearing clouds away, while Rarity was in her workshop, trying to decide which jewels would go better with her newest fashion pieces, as per usual. Twilight Sparkle was taking care of some more interesting business, more so than the usual stuff. Twilight had received a letter from the Princess Celestia that someone was coming to Ponyville to be the new English teacher at Ponyville's school and new art instructor. Twilight had just finished discussing arrangements with the mayor about new living quarters for the newest members of their community, and with every assignment, Twilight's pint-sized little dragon companion Spike took notes. As with every other matter, Twilight of course told her friends that someone was coming into Ponyville. They all arranged to meet at the cafe that afternoon. They all talked over milkshakes about what the new teacher would be like. Twilight shared that Princess Celestia mentioned that he attended university for 5 years when he was only supposed to do 4, studied paleontology, and had a deep passion for stories and the arts and loves children. "Oh yeah, my little sis is really gonna like this guy," Applejack chuckled. "I've seen his artwork on the internet. He's so very talented and has such a wide range of interests. Truly a man of taste," Rarity added. "I've seen his stuff too. He also has a YouTube channel, though he doesn't really post much, which kinda sucks because his drawings rock," Rainbow Dash seconded to Rarity. Pinkie Pie was so excited that she could barely contain herself. She loved meeting new people. "When is he coming?" "Princess Celestia instructed us to meet him just outside Ponyville around sunset and immediately show him to his living quarters. She said that he transported to our universe from Earth 2 days ago and has been traveling for the rest of the time and will be wanting for a rest and refreshments." "Oh, goody, goody, this is gonna be the best party ever." Pinkie Pie was already sharing her ideas for party preparations for their new visitor, going on about games, cakes, the works. However, her joy was cut short by Twilight. Actually, Princess Celestia mentioned that he said no parties were necessary." "Huh? No party? Who doesn't like parties?" "Well, he said to Celestia that he's been through enough parties, and how his younger sister was a huge party animal, and would often keep him up long into the night, even when he had classes the next morning, which was almost all the time. So yeah, he doesn't really care for parties." "Well, judging by how his sister drove him crazy with all the racket she must have made every night, I don't blame him," Applejack remarked. "Yeah, basically all he wants to do is relax on the sofa, have a cup of coffee, and some cake. But he doesn't mind socializing. So he's more of those laid-back, relaxing in the living room kind of guys?" Rainbow Dash asked. "Yeah, pretty much." "Hey, Twilight?" Spike nudged her. "It's almost sunset. I think we should probably get going." "All right, girls, shake a hoof." And this is where I come in. There I was, riding down the road to my new destination in my cart, pulled by a giant lizard, smoking my pipe and singing the song of the lonely mountain. The equestrian countryside was beautiful, and the air was sweet and clean. A bird flew down from an overhanging branch and perched himself on the tip of my Indiana Jones hat. He looked down at me and chirped a friendly greeting. I chuckled as I replied with a hello. The little feathered chap then flew off at the scurrying taking place from underneath the woolen sheet in the back of my cart. Settle down, you two. We're almost there. I continued on my way, still puffing on my pipe, and humming and singing The Lonely Mountain. And just as I was rounding a bend in the road, I was met with 6 little ponies with a dragon in tow. I pulled the reins on my lizard, halting my cart. "Yo-ho, me lads!" I bellowed out. Twilight approached. "Benjamin Michael Tanner?" "Aye, that be me, the one and only." "Welcome to Equestria. My name is Twilight Sparkles," I finished for her. "Yes, I know. And of course I already know who the rest of you are," I said, pointing to the other ponies behind her. "Excuse my manners, I've just had a long travel and in need of common comforts as well as a hot coffee." "Yes, of course, that's quite all right, sir. If you will just follow us, we will show you where you will be staying while you're here." "Sounds dandy." "Well, if you think that's dandy, just wait till you actually see the place. You're gonna love it," Applejack said over Twilight's shoulder. "I'm sure I will. I like it here already." "Right this way, Mr. Tanner." Twilight and the other ponies led on down the road as I followed in my lizard-pulled cart. This was gonna be quite the adventure indeed. I knew my last adventure in the multiverse was grand, but I knew that beyond the shadow of a doubt that this adventure was going to be one to remember.